Hi, it's Marianne, co-creator of the Shopify theme Primavera. In this video, we're diving into native Shopify swatches, a powerful built-in feature that lets you display color variants visually. You've probably seen these while shopping online. Swatches help customers discover products more easily by showing all the available color options right on the product page or the collection page. They also make it easier to filter by color while browsing collections. For many people, swatches reduce cognitive load. It can be easier to understand a colour, pattern, or texture visually, rather than interpret a fancy name like Sandy Dusk or Ocean Whisper. It's never been easier to set this up in Shopify, and with all the UX benefits, it's definitely worth taking a few minutes to learn how. In this video, we'll walk through how swatches and swatch filtering look on both the Dawn theme and our own theme, Primavera. Most of the setup happens in the Shopify admin though, so this tutorial should still be useful even if you're using a different theme, as long as it supports native swatches. If you're unsure whether your theme supports them, check the documentation for native swatches. Some themes may still include older or custom swatch functionality alongside the newer functionality, so just be aware you might see both options. All right, let's get into it. Shopify lets you create simple color swatches, like this knotted t-shirt, or you can also create some image swatches like these to better reflect a color, texture, or pattern. Let's start with the simple color swatches. We've got a t-shirt here that comes in white or light pink. So let's go ahead and create the product. And I don't know if you just saw there, but soon after I entered the title, the category was automatically selected. And this is really important. Just make sure that's correct if Shopify does suggest one, and if it doesn't, make sure you do select one from the available categories. This field is actually critical to swatches, as it'll automatically create a few relevant meta fields. Down here, you can see that now, because this has been selected as a t-shirt in clothing tops, we have access to the color meta field, age group, and target gender. So the color one is the one that we really care about here. Okay, let's drop in some images. So I've just uploaded my 2 images. And let's pop in a price. I'm going to select continue selling when out of stock so that we can test this properly and we don't have to update any inventory. And now is the time to go down to our color meta field, and you can see that it's already pre-selected beige. And actually I don't want beige, I want white and light pink. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove this one and let me look for white. There are going to be some default entries suggested here, so that's really helpful. And the next one is light pink. So we don't have light pink, we do have pink, however. Now, this is the point where I need to think, okay, if I use this pink, will it actually apply to all the products in the future that will be pink as well? Because I really need to make sure that this color swatch that I select, the hex code that I select, is reflective of the actual product. So if there's a chance that I'm going to have other pink products and that the pink is not going to look very much like this, especially once I'm done with updating the color to match the t-shirt, then it might be worth actually creating a kind of custom entry really, that I'll call light pink. I'm just going to type in light pink and it's going to ask me to add it. And so for the color, for now, I'm just going to select this very light pink color that feels accurate to me. We don't need to worry about the image for now. That will be for when we're actually uploading the swatches for the bracelet. And as for the base color, we're just going to leave it pink for now. I'll explain a little bit more detail what that means, but it's basically for our filters, which we'll be looking at later on in the video. So let's go ahead and save this. So now if I go up to variants over here and add options, and I'm going to select the recommended color, and you'll see in a moment, it already knows what I'm trying to do. So it's already selected the white and the light pink colors. And now all that's left for me to do is to, adjust the pricing if necessary, and also associate the correct images. So associating correct images is really important as well. A swatch is often not enough to give an indication of what the product will look like. So swatches plus accurate imagery is really the perfect duo there to set expectations correctly. So let's go ahead and associate those. So for the white one, we've got this one. And over here, we've got our pink one. Great, and we're ready to preview. This is literally all we need to do in the Shopify admin to get it displaying correctly. So if I go ahead and select product template, and I'm going to select the product that I've just created. So you can see that the swatches are already displaying. This is because the variant picker by default in Primavera displays the swatches. So if you wanted to hide them, you might select none. And then the only other thing is deciding whether you want a drop down like this, or whether you want buttons instead, which look like this. And then the other place that these swatches are displayed are in a collection context. So let's just go ahead and add a featured collection to our homepage. Okay, so we've already got a featured collection here, so we're just going to add our newly created product to this featured collection. And if I scroll down, again, by default, the swatches are already displaying. But let's just take a quick look at the theme settings. Just in case they're not displaying for you, you might need to adjust a few settings in theme settings. So under product card, we're going to scroll down to variants. And first of all, if you want them always visible like this, then you select always visible. If you want them only on hover or focus on desktop or large enough screens, then select on hover focus, and you'll see that as I hover over it, those variants are displaying. And then the other settings to be aware of are you can choose between either having a list, which is actually listing out the swatches like this by color, but you can also choose count if you want it to be a little bit more discreet and only show the number of colors available. And just one more setting to be aware of is that there's a limit list count setting further down here, which means that when the list style is selected and this limit is reached, 5, the variant option is going to display as count instead. So if you do say have 10 different colorways and you definitely do want to display those, you'll just want to increase this perhaps to the maximum. And one last thing in Primavera, you can change the design of those swatches. If you head over to Appearance, still under Theme Settings, you'll see under Forms, Swatch Style. So currently we've got rectangle selected, but we also have square, and we have circle. So let's head over to Dawn now and see how it works there. You'll just want to head over to Products, Default Product, and let's select our product. And you can see, again, it's automatically displaying by default. One thing that you'll want to check if it's not displaying is you want to make sure that the swatch in the variant picker block is set to either circle, square, and not none. So in terms of troubleshooting, sometimes when you set up these swatches for the first time, it may take a few minutes for them to appear. So to troubleshoot this, I usually click on this little color button here to disconnect it from the meta field and then reconnect it straight afterwards and then wait a few minutes. So I'll do this, disconnect, and then reconnect it to color, done, and wait a few minutes, and that should usually resolve it. So now it's time to add the image swatches for the Lola tennis bracelet. Let's go ahead and create the product. Oh, and as you just saw, it already selected bracelets for me, which is fantastic. That's exactly what I need. And I'm going to check continue selling when out of stock so we can test. Okay, let's scroll over to our category meta fields. Now it has selected gold for me. Obviously we want an image instead, but also I have to think, is gold the name of the variant option that I want to display? Maybe actually I want it to be yellow gold so that it goes with rose gold, white gold. So actually I'm just going to create a whole new entry just for yellow gold. And I don't need to worry about the color here because, as I mentioned before, we are now going to be selecting an image. And I uploaded these earlier. My yellow gold swatch is there. Base color, we need to select one. Let's go ahead and select gold over here. And we don't need to worry about anything else for now. And hit save. And I'm definitely going to remove this old gold one, and let's add the white gold. I'm just going to put gold here as well for now. And finally, rose gold. And I must have an old entry from some time in the past, so let's go ahead and edit that one. and it doesn't have an image, so let's go ahead and select it. Great. So our colors are looking good here, and now we just need to connect those to the variant. So add options, color, and it automatically knows what I'm doing here. Now, say if you wanted to rename this variant to say, you know, gold tone or something like that, you can definitely do that. It doesn't change whether it's connected or not. The key thing is the fact that it's connected here and that you've got the correct entries. So let's change this to gold tone. And let's not forget to associate the images. So let's see, yellow gold, definitely going to be this one, white gold, and rose gold. Okay, time to preview. And great, it's already displaying here. So we've got our drop down. So now we have our swatches configured, let's push it even further and see how we can get them displaying in our filters. So the first thing we're going to want to do is install the free search and discovery app by Shopify. Okay, so we've just installed the app. Let's head on over to filters. And here you should already have some default filters, availability and price. So you can go ahead and edit the names, reorder them, bearing in mind that the order that they're in the app is also the order that they'll have in the front end of your store. So let's go ahead and add the color filter. So in source, we're going to select color, the category meta field one, if you have multiple. And we're just going to keep color as the name for now. So if you recall earlier on when we were creating these entries, it asked us for a base color, and this is where these come into play. So it's automatically selected those base colors for us. Let's just go ahead and hit save for now and see what it looks like on the front end. So over here on my collection page, I'm just going to make sure that enable filtering is toggled on. And my filters modal is right over here. I can also select a sidebar design if I want, but for now, let's just test it out in the modal. And if I look at the color filter, it's already displaying, and it's displaying all those base values that we just saw. Now, if I think about my customer experience here, if I'm looking for a white gold product, then I'm probably not going to be clicking on this color over here. And if I'm looking for rose gold jewelry, then this isn't very attractive. It's not reflective of the kind of metallic gold that I'm going to be receiving. So let's have a think about how we can improve this. Back in my search and discovery app, I am going to head over to filters again and color. And instead of managing this automatically, I want to manage it manually. So I'm going to select manual, and I'm also going to check this option here to use images when available. This is basically for our situation where we have uploaded images for certain swatches, and we want to make sure that those are displayed in the filters. And already this is much better. We can see our rose gold, white gold, and yellow gold. The images are being used, and of course our original light pink and white. Let's hit save and see how that's feeling on the front end. Select our collection template, open the filters, and this is so much better. We can see our rose gold, white gold, and yellow gold. It's feeling like a much better experience now for customers. So this is how it looks in Primavera. Let's just double check that everything's working in Dawn. And collections. And again, we can see that these are displaying exactly as we expected. And again, it's automatically picking up what we've set up in the app. One other tip that could be useful is that in order for a product to appear under these color swatches in filters, they don't actually need to have color variants. So you can simply go ahead and add the color meta field to any given product. So for example, this Aurore yellow gold diamond band, I want it to appear when a customer selects yellow gold in the filters. And to do this, we just scroll on down to the color meta field. And in order for these to appear, remember, we just need to make sure that it has a category. That's the critical bit. And then in color, I'm going to select yellow gold and hit save. And now when I go back to my customizer, this product should also appear when I click on yellow gold. Let's go ahead and test that. Going to refresh the page. And yellow gold, I can now see that I've got two products. And sure enough, the Aurore diamond band is appearing correct. So now you should have everything you need to set up native swatches on your Shopify store. But before I leave you to it, let's just recap on a few final tips. Visual accuracy with swatches is really important, so don't hesitate to create new colour entries for subcolours because you can still group them in the filters so you don't actually overwhelm the user. Don't rely on swatches alone. Also show visuals of the actual product in that colourway and make sure you associate your variant with images so that when they click on a swatch, they also see the product in that colour. For accessibility, select a theme that has big enough swatches, especially on mobile. You'll notice on Primavera that the swatches are a little bit chunkier on touch devices, and this is really to make them as usable as possible. Ensure there are labels. Colours alone aren't enough to communicate a colour. They're great for a lot of users, but not for everyone, so make sure there's always a label as well. And if you have a load of swatches, order them by hue so that they're really easy to scan visually. Hope you found this helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to check out Primavera if you're looking for a beautiful, flexible Shopify theme for your next project. And if you enjoyed this video and you want more Shopify tips and tutorials, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one.